Hello, my name is Steven Carson, and today I'm going to be talking about the new album from the Dirty Projectors, self-titled Dirty Projectors. Now, I'm not too familiar with the band. I've heard their name in passing, and they've always been a pretty well-acclaimed band, but I've never really fully dug into one of their projects, so this is the first album that I'm digging into from them. And what an album to start with. This is almost a relaunch of the band as the frontman David. He was in a relationship with one of the bandmates, Amber, and now they are no longer seeing each other, and she's no longer a part of the band, and so this is almost kind of a reimagining of what Dirty Projectors are. So, an interesting album to start off with. The album kicks off with the song Keep Your Name, which was the first single released from the album. And whenever I first heard the song, it was kind of weird because there's a lot of pitch shifted vocals. There's a very minimalist sound with just like random little sounds here and there. And so it kind of threw me off a little bit. I wasn't really sure what to expect in the first place. And then to hear something like that, I was a little thrown off. But the more I listened to the track, the more I really started liking it. And then once I heard it in the context of this album, I really started to understand what David was going for here. And to keep it short, give you the short abbreviated version, I really enjoyed this album. It's not an album that I'm not sure if I'm going to be going back to it, but from just sitting down and listening to it, it's a very enjoyable album and complex, and I really enjoyed the listening experience. Like I said, the album kicks off with the song Keep Your Name. I think it's a great song to kind of introduce you to the kind of sounds and themes that you're going to be hearing on the rest of the album. This is this is a pretty sad and depressing album for the most part. It deals with a lot of themes of loss and kind of confusion about where to go next. The entire album is basically about the breakup, and not only emotionally and in a relationship type of way, but also in a professional sense. And these two, as I think I'm aware, these two were kind of the main creative heads in the band, and so losing not only your emotional attachment in a relationship sense, but then also losing that creative side, you may kind of get lost and not know where to go. And so this album kind of shows David struggling through that and making his way through that. And one way that I really liked on this album, and Bon Iver did something similar with 22 A Million, which is an album I really enjoy. I go back to it quite often. This album reminded me a lot of 22 A Million, and that from what I gathered out of it, David kind of uses these pitch shifted vocals, these odd beats and sounds and rhythms to kind of help convey his general confusion and emotions that he's going through. And he uses the beats and the instruments in a way that kind of put the listener in a similar mind state that David is in, by giving us these confusing and odd sounds to kind of keep us on edge and on guard, just as he is in these songs. Goes into a song like Up and which almost plays like an origin story for the band, and it explains what happened previously and like all the things that they went through. But then it also tells it sets you in the mindset that he's in, and lets you see what's coming forward. Up in Hudson is probably my favorite track on the album. It just does a really good job of the storytelling and getting across the on edge sense and feel that I feel like they really wanted you to sense on this album. Work Together, which is the song that follows up in Hudson, almost plays as like a final plea, like this last ditch effort for David to get Amber to come back, and he's just like, we can work together, we can do this together. That's the only thing I know how to do. We've always done this together, and so I don't know how to do this without you, essentially. And then Little Bubble is another one of my favorite tracks on here. It's extremely sad. and it's about the almost the comfort that one feels whenever we have a loved one or our significant other like right beside us, and that feeling of everything's gonna be okay whenever that person is there. And it also explores what happens when that person is not there anymore, and the emotions and the feelings that one goes through whenever that sense of security is kind of ripped away and you just feel like empty and broken. And instrumentally, everything's a little more clear than things have been. It's a little more straightforward than things have been on the previous tracks, and I think that's kind of to maybe show that comfort that he feels whenever they're in their little bubble. Another key track here that I found was Ascent Through the Clouds, and this kind of shows David finally finding himself again after all of this treacherous, all this torture that he's been through throughout the rest of the tracks. Ascent Through Clouds is kind of David finding himself again and being a little more okay by himself, finding that passion within him once again to move on both emotionally and professionally. And like, I still have this band that I have to, it was originally his vision. I'm pretty sure it started out as a solo project for him, and so he's like, this was mine, and I still have to carry this through and move on from this, even though it may hurt to. And he feels unrestrained once again, almost. And then the beat changes around the 3-minute mark, and it's really fucking cool. There's a lot of glitchy noises mixed with an upbeat drum beat. And then later on in the track, the vocals almost split left and right, and they're almost bickering and arguing back and forth about what they should and shouldn't do, like what's right and what's wrong. And then the voices finally come back together. Really, really cool song, really cool track. It's pretty long, but it definitely is worth the runtime. It doesn't waste your time just repeating and repeating. It moves from one idea to the next very well, and it all fits together in the end. And then the track after that, so in Ascent Through the Clouds, he almost has his reawakening almost. And then in Cool Your Heart, it's the first song to not have auto-tune on David's vocals. It's possibly to show that he found himself again, and like he has his own voice once again. It's not hidden behind these walls of effects anymore. It's just him, and he's comfortable with that once again. This is one of the songs that I may listen to more on a regular basis, just because it's not so like gloomy and drawn down, and like not that like the rest of the album is fantastic. It's just that like on a regular basis, whenever I'm in this whenever I'm in this type of mood, this is definitely an album along with 22 A Million that I'll definitely go to. But on a regular basis, it's not something that I'm always going to want to listen to. But this Cool Your Heart is definitely one that I think I could go back to, because it's got more of a fun vibe. It's less depressing. And I See You is the closing track. It just kind of wraps the album up nicely, wraps up the loose ends, and just kind of gets all of his thoughts and emotions after the fact of this long journey that he's been through, and just kind of wraps everything up. Overall, like I said, it's a great album. It's a great listen, but it's not. I don't know how much replay value it's going to have, just because it is so like dark. It's so gloomy, and while the beats and everything are like really cool and like glitchy at times, it's not. The beats aren't enough to take away. Like, David's vocals are definitely like the focus here, and so it draws you into that. It kind of brings you into that depressive mood, and so I don't know like how often I'm going to want to listen to that, but who knows? Maybe as the emotional part kind of like I get more comfortable with that, and like it doesn't bring me down as much, maybe the instrumentals will start to come out more, and I'll be more intrigued by those, and it becomes an album that I listen to all the time. But it's definitely a very good album. Very well done. A lot of thought put into it. I quite enjoyed it, and I'm definitely going to go back and listen to some of Dirty Projectors' old stuff so I can kind of get a feel for the band, because I really enjoyed this. I think it would probably be like a strong 7 to a light 8 out of 10 for me, just because of that replay value. I don't know how much it's going to be there, but I could definitely see this being in like a favorites list of the year. I really enjoyed this, and so those are my thoughts on Dirty Projectors' new album. Did you like it? Tell me down in the comments below. I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts, criticisms on both the album and my videos, as I'm just kind of getting used to doing this, and so as I kind of get more in the flow of things, hopefully things will get better. But I'd love to have a conversation with you guys about the album. Like I said, I really enjoyed it, but I haven't really read any reviews or anything of it, so I'm not sure what other people are thinking about it. But personally, I really enjoyed it, so I hope other people do too. And it was very emotionally captivating. So thank you guys for watching, and peace.